Welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show. Today we'll be speaking with Richard Board, CFO and founder of Atlantic Business Advisor. Richard helped business owner move from financial confusion to clarity by turning numbers into practical strategy for growth, cash flow management, and smarter decision making. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Richard.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, Richard, what was it like growing up?
So I grew up with a wonderful family, one who focused on hard work and doing the right thing. And I carried that on through high school and college, where I majored in business management and then got my first job in corporate. Well, started in accounts receivable and then transitioned to program management, business management, and then program management.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So, Richard, many businesses struggle with financial clarity. What is the biggest mistake you see in how entrepreneurs manage their finances?
Yeah, so the biggest mistake and biggest question I hear from business owners, especially as for small businesses, they are confused. They come to me with a question that says, "Hey, I'm showing a profit in my P&L, on my profit and loss, my income statement, but there's no cash in the bank. Why am I profitable on paper, but I have no cash in the bank? Why is that?" And so the big explanation, big question I have to answer is why, how does the profit and loss differ from your cash, from your balance sheet, your statement of cash flow and balance sheet? So that's kind of the number one, like, fundamental basic question that most business owners have for me. Once we get past that, once I tell them about the profit and loss and then how that is not equal to cash, that there is a balance sheet and there are payments, cash expenditures that go out on the balance sheet as well. Then we get into some of the more difficult questions about their specific business.
Yeah, amazing. And I think that's a big education for entrepreneurs. And so, how do more like entrepreneurs or small business owners start understanding their numbers without necessarily being an accountant?
Great question. So there's a lot of free resources. Go on YouTube if you can, get books, get a mentor, contact me. We'd be happy to help you. And so really it's finding a resource and diving into your business. And so really accounting is just kind of keeping track of the money, whether it's an expense, whether it's an asset, liability, whatever it is. So keeping track of it and then accounting for it properly. And so reviewing that on a daily, monthly, weekly basis whenever you want to review that. And it helps to have a mentor and it helps to get some training and some education.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So, what does good cash flow management really look like? Really look like in a growing business?
Yeah. So the first thing is it's really important and really cheap to use a pen and paper and write out the income all the money you're going to get into your business and then all the money that's going to go out of your business. So you can, first, depending on how big your business is, you can write this out on paper. I've have clients that do this monthly. They track all the income received, all the expenditures going out, and then they even forecast, hey, I've got a job going on next month. I'm going to forecast that. So that's one of the things that we do for our clients that really goes from kind of fundamental accounting. So accounting is all rear view looking. It's all behind you. Financial forecasting, kind of the CFO work that we do, that's more forward looking. So one of the basic things that's really fundamental that we love is doing a 13-week cash flow forecast. And that says, hey, here's the income, here's the money coming in that we estimate, and then here's the money going out and the different buckets and all those things. And at the bottom, it'll say, hey, here's your cash inflow or outflow for the month, for the week.
Yeah, amazing. Penning it down, getting to know what comes in and how it goes out. Wow, that was really amazing. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing that. So, how do you help business owner move from reacting to finance to strategically planning with them?
Yeah, so I'm based in Virginia. I'll tell two stories. So based in Virginia, all of our clients, most of our clients are here in America, either in Virginia or Florida, wherever. So we'll come in and at the basic level, we'll just get their accounting clean. Make sure they have good accounting. And then if you think kind of the pyramid, so the base of the pyramid is good, clean, accurate accounting. Then we'll move on to forecasting. And so again, not looking rear view mirror, looking through the windshield. You're looking where you're going to go. And we'll use this forecast to build our strategy, to build our plan for growth, because you can grow too fast and that actually hurts you more than more than lagging growth. So we'll plan out healthy growth. We'll plan out debt, equity, all of those things. But it starts with fundamental, clean. The base of the pyramid is good accounting. So that's what we do here for our clients in America. February 2025, so about a year ago, I got to go on a missions trip to Nairobi, Kenya. Wonderful trip. We went and helped Christian business owners, and we were only there for 1 week, but we flew, I think it was 13 or 18 different business owners who were in ministry into the Lifeway Global, that's the center in Nairobi, and flew them in, and we did some training. And that week, what we focused on was, does your business case close? Are you showing a profit after 1 year? And it was all what we just did, what I just talked about. We modeled the income. We said, and so I was a coach. I had 3 different business entrepreneurs that we were helping. They each had a different business. One was a charcoal business. One farmed or grew exotic fish for an aquarium. And then the other one was a poultry farm. And so we took their assumptions and we modeled it out. We said, here's how much income you'll have. Here's your operating expenses, your cost of goods sold. They were forecasting a loan. So here's your debt repayment and the cash at the end of the month and how that stacked out over the next 3 to 5 years.
Wow, that was really amazing. Being that, yeah, you could actually more like look at what the book says and being able to tell how heady the business is and the focus. Yeah, it's really amazing. So, what are the early warning signs that a business is heading towards financial stress?
Well, usually the owner can tell. The way the owner can tell is if there's no money in the bank, we've got issues. So no money in the bank, can't make payroll, can't pay yourself as an owner, can't pay vendors. That's a concern. Those are obvious concerns. Everybody knows that. Some more subtle concerns would be if you, again, talking about growing too fast. If you're growing your business and if you don't have a system or a structure in place to handle some of the fundamental accounting. So some of the fundamental questions are like, hey, do I have too much debt on my balance sheet? Is my debt to equity good? Is my debt service coverage ratio healthy? Or am I over leveraged? So if you grow too much, or if you try and grow too much without controls, without systems, without a plan in place, you will eventually lead to a place where you're not be able to make payments to your vendors because your money is going to loans, or you're missing payroll because you don't have a good payroll system set up, or whatever it is. So it starts with, do I have a good plan in place? Do I have a good system for accounting for everything, and tracking everything and monitoring everything? And do I know my numbers? As a business owner, do I know my numbers well enough to say we're doing well or we're not doing well?
Do I know my numbers to know are we doing well or aren't
Yeah.
we? Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. So you have actually worked for a large organization, and now you actually work serve small businesses. What lessons from big corporate finance apply to small business?
Well, I learned, so everything that I do now, I learned from my experience working for corporate America. So growing up as a program manager, being trained on a program manager, learning how to go from point A to point B or point C in a few steps, and being able to communicate that out to a team that says, hey, we are going to start a business, or we are going to grow our business, or we're going to do whatever we're trying to do, our goal, and this is how we're going to get there, and this is your role, and this is my role, and this is how we're going to do things, so that we don't get into a future where our cash is tight and we can't make payroll and all these things. So that's fundamentally is leadership and communication, how to have a vision, how to communicate that vision, and then to delegate out to your employees or your team or whoever you're working with.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. How can you think about profitability versus revenue growth?
Yeah. So there's a saying, revenue is vanity. I mean, it's all your pride. People who talk about revenue is pride. Revenue is vanity. It is sanity. I mean, if you're focused on profit, you've got a clear mind, and cash is king. So a lot of business owners like to talk about the top line. They say, hey, I've got a $10 million business. I've got a $16 million business. Look at me go. And then you track it down, the cost of goods sold and expenses, and you see their profit margin is really low. They have a lot of revenue. They're flipping a lot of houses, or they're selling a bunch of things. And so their revenue is high, but their profit margin is super low. And then you dive in even further, because that's just the profit and loss statement.
Yeah.
And you realize, well, they're making a bunch of payments to debt. They're making a bunch of payments on these trucks and cars and houses that they're flipping. And so their net income actually is not their cash. Their cash might be negative, and their net income is positive. So revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is king.
Yeah, revenue is vanity. Yeah, wow, that was really amazing. A very lovely way of looking at it. That, yeah, not just focusing on what the revenue is, but looking at the profitability, and yeah, and that of the catch at hand. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So what role does financial strategy play in a long-term business sustainability?
Financial strategy. What role does the financial strategy play in long-term business? If you're going to have a business that lasts more than 3 years, if you employ, so if you're just going to have a single member business, just you, and you're only going to do it for just yourself, then you can get away with not doing a financial strategy. But the more complex you have, the bigger your business is, the more employees you have, the more revenue you have, the more expenses you have, the more strategy and planning is essential. You can kind of get away with it if you're a single member person focusing on doing the work for your clients, and then collecting the money. You can kind of get away with it. But even then, you'll want a budget. You'll want to know, hey, am I spending dollars the right way? And so a budget, you could think of that as your strategy. Again, as you get more complex, you'll want to do a more long-term analysis, more long-term forecast that says, hey, here's my 1-year goal, 3 years, 5-year plan, or here's my 13-week cash flow. And that all rolls in together, as you get bigger and more complex.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. And I think it's really lovely being that for those who are looking forward to long term, having this perspective is very, very key towards sustainability of their business. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Richard. So, Richard, you are a person of faith. How does your faith influence your approach to business and leadership?
So my personal faith, how it shapes my approach to business. Yeah. So I believe that each of us has I think each of us has a divine calling. So we are all created uniquely. So you're created uniquely. I'm created uniquely. And I think that God has created me in such a way that I can give to business owners. I can give my time. I can give my knowledge. I can give it to entrepreneurs who are interested in growing their business. And for me, so that's my mission. My mission is my family and my business and my church and my community. Okay. And I know it's more than just money. I know that when I work for a mission that spreads the gospel, that says, hey, Jesus loves me and dies for me, died for my sins, and I can love you in a very practical way by helping you with your accounting, I can kind of reflect that love out into the world. And also, business is not just about making money.
Yeah.
Like, I have a saying, like, businesses have the power to empower families, to help men provide for their families, put food on the table. They have the ability to change communities. If you get enough men together who want to build a business, you can change a community. And if you get enough communities together, you can change a city. If you change enough cities, you can change a country, change the world. So I believe it starts with an individual who brings people together to grow a business, provides good salary to his employees, his or her employees, so that they can feed their families, they can do a job and be part of a larger mission. So, yep, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
So, lastly, for entrepreneurs who feel overwhelmed by their their financial reports, what is one simple place to start today?
So, for an entrepreneur that's looking at his financial reports, his or her financial reports, where does he start? I would say start with the most complex financial report. If you're doing your accounting by hand on paper, this will be the hardest. But in my opinion, it's the most important. That is the statement of cash flows. The statement of cash flows is the hardest financial report to understand, but it is the most important. And that's because you create the statement of cash flow by taking the net income from your profit and loss. So you have to have a profit and loss.
Yeah.
It's got to be accurate. And you got to have your net income from your profit and loss. And then you either add or subtract items from your balance sheet. So accounts receivable, accounts payable, principal and interest payments for your financing activities, any investing activities you do. You add or subtract those to get from your net income, add or subtract all those things, and you get your cash at the end of the month or end of the period. Okay. So with your statement of cash flows, you then can see the bottom line of your profit and loss, and you can see all the things in your balance sheet that impact your cash right there on one report. That's the hardest one. It's the most important in my opinion. Unfortunately, most entrepreneurs, they focus on the easiest one, which is your profit and loss.
Yeah.
And so if you're running a very small business, very lean, you can get away with profit and loss. If you say, hey, I've got nothing on the balance sheet, no loans, no accounts receivable, no accounts payable. I just collect money in, I do a job and then I take the money, put it right in the bank, and then I pay my vendors, and it's very simple. Then you can get away with a profit and loss. But if you're a little more complex, if you've got vendors you have to pay, if you got invoices that take more than cash on delivery or more than just instantaneously being paid, then you got to have a balance sheet. And if you're going to have a balance sheet, you got to have a statement of cash flow.
Yeah, amazing. Starts with the complex. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Eric. So, Richard, for my audience who want to reach out to you, who want you to help them look at their numbers and who want to connect with you, how can they reach out to you and where is the best platform?
Yeah, so I have a website. So my website is www.atlbusinessadvisors.com. I have a contact section. You contact me, send me a message. I don't know if any of your listeners are in Kenya, in Nairobi, but I partner with a mission here in the United States, and we go over to Nairobi, and they do a 3-week business cohort. It's specific for entrepreneurs who are mission-minded, kingdom-focused, who want to use their business to facilitate the growth of the gospel. And so if that is what you're interested in, if that's, if you align with those things, you can also check that out. It's called Lifeway Global. It's in Nairobi, Kenya. And or you just contact me and I can help you out with that as well. They used to have missions in other countries other than Nairobi, and I think they narrowed it down to Kenya.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Richard. And yeah, thank you for all you do for the faith too. Yeah, it's really amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this practical insight. Listener, you can actually learn more and connect with Richard at atlbusinessadvisor.com. The link is going to be on the show notes. And yeah, this has been the Aro Benaiah Show. Happy entrepreneur, build stronger business and stronger future. Once again, it's really a pleasure and honor have you on the show, Richard.
All right. Thank you so much.